There are some people who don't need an introduction, but I'm supposed to introduce people, so I'm going to introduce this next guy anyway. You may have heard of his company. It's called Bloomberg LP. It's a really small firm. It's a global company with more than 15,000 employees and offices in 73 countries. Pretty amazing. He is a global leader in global finance and in sustainability. You'll also remember him as the 108th mayor of New York City, where he served from 2002 to 2013, I should say. Never fearful of new challenges. Just this year, he was appointed by UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon to be UN Special Envoy for Cities and Climate Change. And in that role, he's helping cities and countries set and achieve more ambitious climate change goals. Please help me welcome the Honorable Michael Bloomberg, the 108th Mayor of New York City.
Mike, thank you for those kind words. Chairman Yuan, thank you very much for inviting me and having me speak. We're honored. It is great to be here with so many business leaders and dedicated public servants, including Ambassador Tway and Senator Menendez. Bob, welcome. I want to thank the entire board of directors of the China General Chamber of Commerce for the warm welcome that I have received tonight. You know, the future of China is so full of promise, and thanks to many business and government leaders, including the people in this room, I really do think that the future of U.S.-China relations, despite what sometimes gets reported in the press, has never been brighter. And Mr. Ambassador, if you can take one message back to your government, I would like it to be that in spite of what sometimes some people say, China has an enormous number of friends, people that respect the country, and people that want to have a great relationship between the two of us. Senator Menendez is one of those people. He is a great senator and certainly represents this country well. My friend Hank Paulson, who is on the board of my foundation, and Henry Kissinger, who's a very close friend of mine, are two great admirers of China, and what I know about China really comes from them. You have a wonderful country, and we're honored that you are here with us tonight, so thank you. Throughout my career, I have been privileged to work with Chinese businesses in several different roles, as the leader of a global company, as Mike mentioned, as the mayor of our country's largest city, which has a thriving Chinese-American population, and also as special envoy for cities and climate change, a position that I was appointed to earlier this year by the United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. And from each vantage point, I've seen what we can accomplish when we work together as partners. And tonight, I speak to you as someone who believes that the U.S.-China relationship holds unlimited potential, and that the key to fulfilling that potential is collaboration. The more we collaborate, the more we can innovate. And the more we can innovate, the more opportunities there will be for collaboration. It is what we call a virtuous cycle. In the years ahead, the more that we're able to open our capital and our labor markets to each other, and the more that we collaborate on trade and technology, the better off both our countries will be. And the better off the world will be as we confront common challenges ranging from poverty and disease to climate change and terrorism. In the global marketplace, we each have a stake in each other's success. When the U.S. investment in China increases, both of our countries benefit. And when Chinese investment in the U.S. increases, both our countries benefit. In just this past year, I'm happy to say that Chinese companies invested more than $14 billion in America, double the previous record. Chinese firms now operate in the U.S. and employ over 70,000 Americans, and at the same time, direct investment in China from U.S. firms reached $3.4 billion last year. A great example of the economic partnership was the recent Alibaba IPO. On the day the company went public, I was honored to host a small luncheon at my philanthropic foundation in honor of Jack Ma. I've gotten to know Jack over the years. We share a belief in the idea that customer service must be job number one, and in the idea that each of our countries benefit from growing trade. And I do not hold it against him that he is less than half my age. When you think about it seriously, the Alibaba IPO, I think, is a perfect symbol of how collaboration between our countries can be mutually beneficial. It was a marriage of Chinese technology with American finance among two families, the U.S. and China, that value, honor, and encourage innovation and entrepreneurship. As mayor of New York, I met with many Chinese entrepreneurs who devoted themselves, just like I did, to building a small business. It's incredibly hard work, and too often government can make it more difficult. But by working with the Chinese-American community, we developed new programs to help local entrepreneurs access capital, navigate government regulations, and expand their operations. And the GCCC plays a similar role across our country, and it really is vitally important work. Expanding a business overseas, whether in the U.S. or any other country in the world, presents business leaders with unique challenges. Today, for example, my company, Bloomberg LP, has offices in 192 locations around the world, including, of course, China. Our offices in Beijing, Hong Kong, and Shanghai employ more than 700 people, and we expect that number to continue growing. I have visited our offices in China a number of times over the years, and on one trip, I actually had the pleasure of riding the high-speed train into Shanghai. The high-speed trains that China is building are great examples, I think, of smart investments in the future, and they're an example of how U.S. leaders can learn from China, and hopefully they will. Here in Washington, as we all know, sometimes change moves at the pace of a steam engine rather than a modern train, but nevertheless, we are moving. So more and more, we are looking to our cities to be laboratories of change, places where policy experiments can happen on important issues. If the experiments succeed, as they often do, they spread to other cities and eventually even to Washington, D.C. And I'm glad to say that China has also embraced the idea of cities as examples of innovation, and its special economic zones are a great example of this. Shenzhen has been an enormous success economically, and it has also been an innovator on environmental issues thanks to its system of carbon exchanges. These exchanges help incentivize the development and use of cleaner forms of energy production, and as Special Envoy for Cities and Climate Change, that's a development we would like to see more of around the world. If you think about it, when you read the press, there isn't very much difference between those big cities in China and the big cities in America. We all have exactly the same problems. We have to give people clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, safe streets, the ability to get around and to make investments and create jobs and have the dignity of being self-sufficient. The exchanges are a great example of how the market, by efficiently allocating resources, really can benefit all of society. Last year, the first policy blueprint released by President Xi stated, quote, "Let the market play the decisive role in allocating resources," unquote. And I think that sends a very reassuring and encouraging signal about China's future. As you know, one of the key elements of China's economic reform agenda is opening up the cities to financial services. And again, China is allowing cities to take the lead. The Shanghai Free Trade Zone is the latest example of China's commitment to more open markets. Financial reform will give Chinese consumers greater choice about where to put their savings and how to invest it. It will also help spur job growth, raise living standards, and attract even more foreign investment from the U.S. and around the world. The power of deep and liquid capital markets to drive progress in developing countries is something I've seen time and time again. My company works with financial service companies around the world, as well as central bankers, to increase access to capital markets and improve their efficiency. And capital markets that are open, deep, and transparent are the greatest tool ever invented for fighting poverty, improving public health, raising living standards, and spurring innovation. Another important way to promote growth and innovation is through more open labor markets. For years now, I've been working to convince Congress to adopt immigration reform that would allow more people from around the world to come to the United States, including from China. American history, I think, is a testament to the power of immigration, and the greater flow of people into the U.S. and China in both directions, the stronger our collective futures will be. But the single most important step that we can take to strengthen our long-term relationship is adopting a bilateral investment treaty. And our former Treasury Secretary, Hank Paulson, who is a good friend, deserves a great deal of the credit for his leadership on this issue, as do the current U.S. and Chinese governments. And you just have to go before you leave and say thank you to Bob Menendez for everything that senator does for our country. The treaty would offer protections for Chinese and American investors. It would also synchronize key regulatory standards, and it would open up more sectors to investors. The U.S. government has bilateral treaties with about 40 other countries, but not China, even though China has become one of our most important trading partners. The treaty negotiations are complex, I know that, and time-consuming. That's the way the world is. But we should commit ourselves to completing the treaty because the benefits for both countries would be enormous. This is an exciting time for Chinese and American businesses. We are different countries with different histories and different cultures, but we really do share the same ultimate goal: social progress through economic growth. And the dialogue between our countries is essential to our mutual success, and that dialogue must include not only government and business leaders, but also non-governmental organizations just like this one. So again, thank you. Thank you for your welcome. We have a saying in America that you have to sing for your supper, so I guess it's time for me to stop singing, and I look forward to enjoying dinner with you. I will not be able to stay for the awards afterwards. I just got off a plane not that many hours ago from San Francisco, and I have an early morning meeting back in New York. And unfortunately, our airport here in Washington closes at 10 o'clock. So if I don't leave before then, I am in big trouble. But I did want to congratulate all of tonight's winners, and I wish all of you the best of luck. We have two great countries, and together we will be stronger for all our peoples. Thank you, and have a great evening.